Young and the Restless. Cole's tragic death and Holden's deceptive plan targets Claire. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a nice day before we begin the video. Please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Young and the Restless saw Cole Howard, J. Eddie Peck, dies this week, tragically, and that leaves Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron, totally devastated and ripe for Holden Novak's, Nathan Owen's scheme. Let's get into how Cole's death is the perfect chance for Holden to get even closer to Claire Grace Newman. Young and the Restless. Cole Howard's tragic death rocks Genoa City. If you are current on your episodes, you know that Cole Howard, Claire Grace Newman's father, is battling Legionnaire's disease, which is a serious form of pneumonia. It's very curable in real life, but Cole Howard's case didn't respond to antibiotics. So he came back to Genoa City to die. After the hospital called Claire Grace Newman and Victoria Newman, Amelia Hindley, and said, "Get down here, ASAP," they rushed in. Cole Howard told them he was about to die and wanted to say goodbye to the love of his life and his daughter. Claire Grace Newman's heartbreak and regrets. Claire was so sad. She talked about not having enough time with Cole Howard and how much she wished for a father when she was little and growing up. But all she had was her psycho great-aunt Jordan Howard, Colleen Zenk. Claire Grace Newman is so upset by the idea of Cole Howard dying that she runs out of the room in tears. She misses his actual death. Cole Howard tells Victoria Newman goodbye, and of course, she's crushed. They share a last kiss, and then Cole Howard passes away on Young and the Restless. That happens on Thursday this week. Of course, Claire is upset with herself that she didn't stick around to see Cole take his last breath. Victoria Newman faces loss as she comforts Claire on Young and the Restless. This was hard because Claire Grace Newman never knew her parents growing up. Crazy Jordan kidnapped her as an infant. But Victoria Newman and Cole Howard were making up for lost time with Claire Grace Newman and also with each other. They had rekindled their romance after so many years apart. Victoria Newman and Claire both thought they were going to have so much more time with Cole Howard, a lifetime. So, understandably, Claire is falling apart at the seams. Y&R spoilers. Holden Novak's scheme targets Claire Grace Newman. Meanwhile, Holden Novak has gotten marching orders from Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, to target her among others. When Holden told Kane Ashby how close he'd already gotten to Claire Grace Newman, his boss was super excited about that. Kane Ashby is going to be excited because Holden Novak has got a target on her. Claire is really sad, twice as sad because she needs her boyfriend Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, there to lean on. But thanks to Kane, we've got Kyle Abbott stuck over in France with no cell service. Claire can't reach him. She can't text him, nothing. She needs Kyle so much right now. Claire is going to leave him a pitiful, sad voicemail, but who knows when he will get it. Kyle Abbott's absence leaves Claire vulnerable. I suspect this is all perfect timing for Holden Novak, who may take full advantage of Claire's grief. Also this week, Holden Novak makes a move on another target that Kane Ashby gave him, Chelsea Lawson Newman, Melissa Claire Egan. But Holden is not going to make any progress with her. It turns out Chelsea Lawson Newman did see him with Kane Ashby at Crimson Lights. It looks like she didn't know, but she did. Chelsea thinks that Holden Novak is working her, and she's figured it all out. Holden Novak lied to Chelsea and tries to cover, but as a former con woman, Chelsea Lawson Newman knows a lie when she hears it. So Holden doesn't stand a chance of forming any sort of fake friendship with Adam Newman's, Mark Grossman lover. Holden Novak and Chelsea Lawson Newman, no match for a con artist. But Claire Grace Newman needs somebody right now. She's an easier mark. She needs a shoulder to cry on. If you remember the other day, Claire Grace Newman was in the park and so upset about her dad Cole Howard's health crisis that she was having a panic attack. Guess who was there to talk her down? It was Holden Novak. They went for drinks and talked it out. Miko ad break here. Holden Novak plays the grief card with Claire Grace Newman. So, Claire's going to be out somewhere, probably having another grief breakdown. Holden Novak may be in a position to be there for Claire again. Be that shoulder to cry on that she needs now. I do think Holden Novak sincerely likes Claire as a friend, because Holden was friendly with her even before Kane Ashby told him to be a little flirty, but really more of a friendly vibe. Holden really wants to please Kane Ashby. He wants to keep those big fat paychecks rolling in. So, unfortunately, I think Holden Novak will do whatever is necessary to get Kane the results he wants. Audra Charles, Holden Novak, and twisted YNR love triangles. I am not getting a romantic vibe between Holden Novak and Claire because he's still kind of fixated on Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver. However, that doesn't mean Holden wouldn't take advantage of a situation with Claire Grace Newman. I could see her grieving and then sharing drinks at the GCAC. Holden Novak should drink there for free since he arranged the purchase of it for Kane Ashby in secret. If you remember, Holden dislikes Kyle Abbott and he's jealous of him because of his past with Audra Charles. Holden Novak would obviously like to have Audra Charles to himself. But he also knows if she and Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, broke up, Audra might just make a play to get back with Kyle Abbott. Drunken decisions. Claire and Holden's risky night at the GCAC. So Holden Novak may be hanging out with Claire when she's upset, drinking while thinking about her poor tragically dead father. She gets a little drunk, tipsy drunk, something in there on top of the grief. Holden Novak takes advantage and winds up in bed with Claire Grace Newman in Holden's room at the GCAC. Something like that. I could see something like that happening. Heck, Claire might wake up half-dressed in bed with Holden Novak and assume the worst. And he lets her assume it. Let's be real. It'd be really awful if Claire got drunk and Holden Novak had sex with her when she couldn't consent. Guilt, secrets, and the impact on Kyle Abbott and Claire on Young and the Restless. Now if they both got drunk together and Claire Grace Newman and Holden Novak had a messy, boozy one-night stand where neither was consenting, that's messy. But it's different than if Claire's drunk and Holden was sober and targeting her, which would be utterly despicable. But I do think he's kind of awful, so maybe don't count that out. He knows Kyle Abbott is out of the country, so Holden Novak may comfort Claire, be that someone she needs at her low point, and things get out of hand. Holden might not even have to take advantage. Claire could cross a line with Holden because she's so upset, and Kyle isn't there. YNR spoilers. Will Holden Novak and Claire Grace Newman hook up? It's pretty common for people to hook up after a loved one dies or after a funeral. It's a life-affirming thing, according to psychologists. Kyle Abbott is not around, so Holden might be the next best thing because Claire Grace Newman is not thinking clearly. Pour a little alcohol on that, and you get a bonfire. So if Holden gets Claire into bed one way or another, whether they do the deed or not, if Claire assumes they did, she'd feel guilty. She might confess to Kyle Abbott, come clean, which would set the groundwork for a breakup. Kane Ashby's agenda, using Holden to shake up Genoa City. We've also got summer spoilers for Audra Charles having old feelings bubbling up again, and that could be about Kyle Abbott since she seems totally turned off by Holden Novak. So wait to see. If Claire Grace Newman winds up in bed with Holden Novak, you never know. Kane Ashby might give Holden a bonus. It's not entirely clear yet if Kane wants Holden Novak to get close to the people on the list to recruit them as allies, or set the stage to blow up their lives as collateral damage in the coming war of Kane versus Victor Newman, Eric Braeden. We'll see how it all plays out. Claire Grace Newman's next move, revenge or redemption on YNR. I feel like Claire's grief could make her an easy target, but she's also got a wicked streak because of her crazy aunt and how she was raised. If she found out Holden played her, he and Kane might need to watch their backs. No telling what Claire might do for revenge. The Young and the Restless is gearing up for a storyline that could shatter the Newman family like never before. As whispers of Cole's tragic fate echo through Genoa City, fans are bracing for a series of explosive twists that promise to leave everyone stunned. Claire's already complicated world is about to spiral into dangerous territory when Holden's true motives are finally exposed. His seemingly innocent concern for Claire was nothing more than a mask for a sinister scheme designed to exploit her vulnerabilities. While Claire has fought hard to build a life away from her dark past, Holden's plan threatens to drag her back into the shadows, just as tragedy strikes the man who tried to give her stability and redemption. Cole's unexpected death sends shockwaves across the canvas, appending long-standing dynamics and triggering a chain of emotional upheavals. Cole's presence in Genoa City has always been tied to unresolved love, hidden pain, and a desire to protect his daughter. He returned with quiet determination to rebuild relationships with Victoria and Claire. His bond with Claire was growing stronger, marked by small but powerful moments of trust. Yet beneath the surface, Cole sensed something unsettling about Holden's sudden reappearance. Holden presented himself as a calm figure of support for Claire, but his charm hid a manipulative agenda. He gained Claire's confidence by posing as a sympathetic ear, encouraging her to rely on him emotionally, while subtly distancing her from her family. Cole, being protective, began to dig deeper into Holden's past, suspecting ulterior motives. Unfortunately, his search for the truth put him directly in Holden's crosshairs. Holden's deceptive plan is layered, carefully crafted to isolate Claire and seize control over her fragile emotional state. He knows Claire's past trauma makes her susceptible to manipulation, and he's using that knowledge to weave a web around her. While Claire has grown immensely since her dark days under Jordan's influence, she's still vulnerable when it comes to trust. Holden plays on this vulnerability, creating situations that make her question her family's loyalty. His ultimate goal appears to be to push her away from the Newmans entirely, leaving her dependent on him. But what Holden doesn't expect is that Cole's determination to expose him would trigger a fatal confrontation that changes everything. The circumstances surrounding Cole's death remain shrouded in mystery, but whispers suggest it may not be an accident. Reports indicate that Cole was last seen meeting with Holden in a secluded location, hoping to gather evidence that could unmask Holden's lies. A heated confrontation reportedly followed, leading to tragedy. Whether Holden deliberately set Cole up or whether events spiraled out of control remains to be seen, but the aftermath is devastating. Victoria is left reeling from the sudden loss of the man who shared a complicated but profound history with her. Their renewed connection had hinted at unfinished love, making his death even more heartbreaking. For Claire, the impact is seismic. Losing Cole, the father figure who stood by her during her fragile steps toward redemption, leaves her emotionally shattered. The Newman family responds to Cole's death with a mix of grief, suspicion, and determination. Victor, always the patriarch, vows to uncover the truth behind the tragedy, sensing that Holden's involvement runs deep. Nikki, who has grown surprisingly protective of Claire despite initial reservations, struggles to comfort her granddaughter while balancing the reality of a dangerous man lurking close. Victoria, already tormented by guilt over the past, is consumed with the idea that she could have prevented Cole's fate if she had acted sooner. This emotional storm sets the stage for an intense investigation that could expose Holden's schemes and drag hidden secrets into the light. Meanwhile, Holden cleverly plays the role of grieving friend, manipulating the narrative to deflect suspicion. He positions himself as Claire's sole source of comfort, intensifying his psychological grip. By portraying himself as someone who understood Cole's concerns and tried to warn him, he plants seeds of doubt in Claire's mind. He subtly suggests that the Newmans' interference indirectly led to Cole's death, hoping to fracture Claire's fragile trust in her family completely. Claire's emotional turmoil makes her susceptible to Holden's manipulation, and for a while, it seems his plan is working. She becomes distant from Victoria, unsure who to trust, and finds herself increasingly relying on Holden. However, beneath Claire's grief lies a growing sense of unease. Little details about Holden's behavior start to trouble her. His eagerness to control situations, his odd knowledge of events he shouldn't be aware of, and his too-perfect timing make her question his motives. This inner conflict becomes a crucial turning point. Claire, no longer the easily swayed pawn she once was, begins to trust her instincts. Even in her grief, she senses that something about Cole's death doesn't add up. The show is setting up a psychological thriller arc, where Claire's intuition may become the key to unraveling Holden's plot. The death of Cole could also have far-reaching consequences for Victoria's arc. Losing a man she shared such a complex emotional history with could push her toward a path of vengeance and justice. Victoria may channel her grief into a relentless crusade against Holden, determined to protect her daughter and honor Cole's memory. Her relationship with Claire could face major challenges as Holden tries to pit them against each other. But their bond, forged through shared pain, may ultimately become their strongest weapon. If Claire chooses to stand with her family, Holden's intricate web could begin to unravel dramatically. Holden's motives are still cloaked in mystery, leaving viewers guessing. Some speculate he might be tied to Jordan's old network, seeking revenge against the Newmans for dismantling it. Others believe he could be after Newman money, using Claire as his way in. There's also the possibility of a deeply personal vendetta against Cole that dates back to their past. Whatever the reason, his manipulations are clearly escalating, and Cole's death serves as a catalyst for his storyline unfolds. Expect shocking revelations, emotional breakdowns, and unexpected alliances. Characters who were once divided may unite against a common threat. Victor's old-school tactics, Victoria's fiery resolve, and Claire's evolving strength are likely to converge in a dramatic showdown with Holden. This arc has the potential to redefine Claire's role on the canvas permanently. No longer a troubled young woman haunted by her past, she could emerge as a heroine who confronts manipulation head-on, driven by love for the father who believed in her. The Young and the Restless thrives on intertwining family drama with psychological intrigue, and this storyline hits both notes perfectly. Cole's tragic death will not only shake Genoa City to its core but also set the stage for an intense game of deception, loyalty, and survival. Holden's deceptive plan may seem airtight, but he's underestimated the strength that grief can forge. Claire's journey through pain, doubt, and eventual empowerment promises to be one of the most riveting arcs in recent memory. As fans speculate and theories swirl, one thing is clear: the fallout from Cole's death will linger for months, reshaping relationships and forcing characters to confront their deepest fears. The battle between Holden's calculated manipulations and the Newmans' determination to protect their own is about to explode in spectacular fashion. Genoa City will never be the same again. In the weeks following Cole's devastating death, Genoa City becomes a cauldron of grief, suspicion, and quiet fury. The Newman family, already fractured by years of internal rivalries and painful secrets, finds itself unexpectedly united by a shared determination to find answers. Victor takes immediate control of the situation, determined not to let this tragedy slip through the cracks. His instincts tell him Holden's involvement runs far deeper than anyone realizes. While the police investigation plods along with predictable caution, Victor launches his own shadow operation, pulling resources from his powerful network to dig into Holden's background. What he uncovers is deeply unsettling: a trail of aliases, suspicious financial transactions, and connections to individuals tied to shady organizations from Claire's dark past. It becomes increasingly clear that Holden's arrival in Claire's life was no coincidence. It was orchestrated. Meanwhile, Victoria is unraveling emotionally. She's haunted by memories of Cole, their youthful love, their shared dreams, and the way they found each other again just when it seemed too late. His death feels like a cruel twist of fate, tearing away the possibility of a new beginning. Her grief manifests as both sorrow and simmering rage. She throws herself into work to avoid collapsing under the weight of her emotions, but every corner of Newman Enterprises reminds her of Cole's presence. The thought that Holden might have played a role in this tragedy fuels her like a spark to dry timber. She vows privately to destroy him, even if the law fails to deliver justice. Claire, meanwhile, is caught in a painful tug-of-war between vulnerability and awakening strength. In the immediate aftermath, she gravitates toward Holden, who offers constant support, positioning himself as her protector. He subtly plants ideas that the Newmans are too focused on appearances to truly care, trying to alienate her from Victoria. But as Holden grows bolder in his manipulation, cracks begin to show. Claire notices inconsistencies in his stories. He seems to know things about Cole's last day that no one should. He accidentally lets slip details about the secluded location where Cole died, details that had not been made public. These moments ignite a spark of suspicion in Claire. She begins secretly collecting her own information, retracing Cole's last steps, looking through his notes, and following the faint digital trail he left behind. As she digs deeper, she uncovers a folder on his computer that was encrypted but clearly related to Holden. This discovery both terrifies and strengthens her resolve. She realizes Cole was onto something big before he died, and that Holden may have silenced him to protect his secrets. Claire's transformation begins quietly. No longer the frightened girl looking for someone to guide her, she starts relying on her instincts, just like her Newman relatives. Nikki steps in as a surprising pillar of support. Having experienced manipulation and addiction herself, she recognizes the psychological hold Holden is attempting to exert over Claire. In private conversations, she gently encourages Claire to trust her instincts and not to let grief cloud her judgment. Their bond deepens, creating a touching generational dynamic as Nikki shares her hard-earned wisdom. This emotional anchor plays a crucial role in Claire's gradual awakening to Holden's deceit. Holden, meanwhile, grows increasingly desperate. Victor's silent investigation starts closing in on his past, while Claire's demeanor shifts in subtle ways he can't ignore. To maintain control, he accelerates his scheme. He begins suggesting that Claire should leave Genoa City with him, start fresh somewhere far away where the Newmans can't control her. He paints a picture of a peaceful life away from the chaos, but beneath the surface, it's clear he wants to isolate her completely. When Claire hesitates, citing Victoria's grief and her own desire for answers, Holden becomes more forceful, revealing a colder, more manipulative side. Victor's investigation reaches a breakthrough when one of his private operatives uncovers surveillance footage from a gas station near the location where Cole died. The footage shows Holden's car parked there at the exact time Cole was last known to be alive. This evidence is enough to shift suspicion firmly onto Holden, though it's not definitive proof of murder. Victor shares this information with Victoria, who reacts with a mixture of fury and grim satisfaction. For the first time since Cole's death, she feels a sense of direction, someone to hold accountable. She warns Claire to be cautious around Holden, but Claire chooses not to reveal her suspicions just yet. She wants to catch him herself. In a chilling twist, Holden realizes Victor is closing in and decides to push his endgame forward. He orchestrates a situation where Claire is lured to an isolated cabin under the pretense of finding new evidence about Cole's death. Once there, Holden drops the mask entirely, revealing fragments of his motive. He claims that Cole stood in the way of the plan, hinting at a broader conspiracy that goes beyond simple personal vengeance. His demeanor shifts from charming to menacing, leaving Claire stunned and terrified. But Claire, no longer the naive girl of months past, refuses to crumble. She uses her knowledge of the terrain and her quick thinking to secretly record parts of Holden's confession on her phone. This pivotal moment marks Claire's emergence as a central force in the story, not just a victim, but a fighter determined to honor her father's legacy. Back in Genoa City, Victoria and Victor sense something is wrong when Claire doesn't return. A frantic search begins, pulling in Nick and Nikki as well. The family dynamic tightens in the face of danger, echoing classic Newman storylines where unity in crisis becomes their greatest strength. Holden's deception, once smooth and calculated, begins to unravel rapidly. His underestimation of Claire proves to be his biggest. Holden reaches its peak as night falls over Genoa City. Deep in the woods at the isolated cabin, Claire finds herself face to face with the man who orchestrated a chain of deception that tore her family apart. The dim light flickers across Holden's expression, revealing the menace that had been lurking beneath his calm exterior all along. He paces the room with chilling confidence, believing he has finally cornered Claire into complete submission. But what Holden doesn't realize is that Claire is no longer the vulnerable girl he met. The pain of losing Cole has forged a resilience in her that he cannot anticipate. As Holden rants about his motives, fragments of his past spill out. He reveals he once worked for shadowy figures connected to Jordan's network, and that Cole's investigation threatened to expose a major money laundering operation involving stolen Newman resources. He taunts Claire by admitting he manipulated her from the start, targeting her because he knew she was the emotional weak link in the Newman armor. Each word cuts deep, but Claire keeps her composure. Secretly, her phone continues recording, capturing every incriminating detail. Back in Genoa City, Victor is piecing together the final elements of his investigation. When his team traces Claire's last location to the woods, alarm bells go off. Victoria, already on edge, demands they move immediately. She refuses to let history repeat itself. She lost Cole, and she won't lose Claire too. A search party is quickly mobilized. Victor, Victoria, and Nick join forces, their differences pushed aside in the face of danger. The family's frantic drive through the night mirrors countless Newman crises of the past, bringing a raw emotional urgency that fans love. At the cabin, Holden realizes Claire isn't breaking as he expected. His calm mask cracks, and his threats become more direct. He tries to force Claire to leave with him, insisting they can disappear before Victor closes in. When she refuses, he lunges to take her phone. A tense physical struggle erupts. Claire fights back with every ounce of determination she has. She manages to escape his grip and darts out into the woods, clutching the phone like a lifeline. The forest becomes the backdrop for a desperate chase, with Holden crashing through the darkness behind her. Claire's escape is both harrowing and symbolic. Each step represents her breaking free from manipulation, fear, and the past that haunted her. As she stumbles through the trees, headlights suddenly pierce the night. Victor and Victoria arrive just in time, their shouts echoing through the woods. Holden, startled and cornered, tries to flee, but Victor's men block every path. Surrounded, his confident demeanor collapses into panic. Victoria reaches Claire first, pulling her into a tearful embrace that speaks volumes. For the first time since Cole's death, Claire allows herself to break down, overwhelmed by relief and raw emotion. She hands over the phone to Victor, whispering that everything is on the recording. Victor wastes no time. He plays the audio on speaker, and Holden's voice fills the night with damning evidence. His own words seal his fate. Holden's arrest sends shockwaves through Genoa City. The news spreads quickly. The man who infiltrated Claire's life, manipulated her grief, and caused Cole's death has been exposed. The community reacts with a mix of outrage and relief. For the Newmans, it's a bittersweet victory. Justice for Cole is finally within reach, but nothing can erase the pain of losing him. In the days that follow, Claire becomes the emotional centerpiece of the fallout. She faces intense guilt for ever trusting Holden, but Victoria and Nikki rally around her. Victoria reminds her that she was targeted precisely because of her kind heart, that the blame lies solely with Holden. Their renewed bond grows stronger as they work through the trauma together. Victor, meanwhile, takes a cold, calculated satisfaction in dismantling Holden's network. He uses his resources to ensure every accomplice is exposed, sending a clear message that no one targets his family and gets away with it. This arc reignites Victor's iconic ruthless protector persona, thrilling longtime fans. Holden's trial promises to be another explosive chapter. His confession, the forensic evidence linking him to the scene, and his connection to criminal organizations paint a clear picture of guilt. But the storyline doesn't stop at justice. It pivots toward Claire's healing journey. She visits Cole's grave in a quiet, emotional scene that encapsulates her growth. She vows to honor him by living authentically, refusing to let darkness define her again. Victoria also finds closure. Though Cole's death left a hole in her heart, seeing Holden brought to justice gives her a sense of peace. She begins to reflect on her future, not just as a business titan, but as a mother determined to protect and nurture her daughter's newfound strength. Their relationship, once fragile and complicated, evolves into one built on mutual trust and shared pain. The storyline wraps with a classic Newman family gathering. As they sit together, Victor toasts to Cole's memory and to the strength that carried them through this storm. Claire looks around the table, finally feeling like she truly belongs, not as a fragile outsider, but as a Newman with a voice and power of her own. Holden's downfall will undoubtedly ripple through Genoa City for months. His arrest may expose other hidden enemies, hinting at future arcs. But for now, Claire's victory stands as a powerful testament to resilience, family, and justice. The Young and the Restless has crafted a tragic yet empowering storyline that blends psychological suspense with family drama. Cole's death was heartbreaking, but it propelled Claire into a hero's journey that reshaped her place in the Newman legacy. As Holden's deceptive plan crumbles, Genoa City braces for the next chapter in a saga that proves once again, No one manipulates the Newmans without facing the consequences. The dust settles over Genoa City, but the emotional aftershocks of Holden's downfall continue to ripple through the Newman family and the entire community. Cole's tragic death has left a permanent scar, but it has also reignited old bonds and forged new ones, reshaping the family in ways no one expected. Victor moves swiftly to ensure that Holden's confession leads to airtight charges. His legal team works with the authorities to build an unshakable case. Holden's accomplices, once hidden in the shadows, begin to surface as investigators unravel the web of deception that extended far beyond Genoa City. What began as a personal tragedy now threatens to expose a much larger criminal operation, one that might even connect to old Newman enemies. For Victoria, life after Cole's death is a journey through grief and transformation. Her love for Cole was complex and deeply rooted in shared history. Losing him again, this time forever, breaks something inside her. Yet she channels that pain into fierce determination. She pours herself into protecting Claire, becoming a guiding force rather than a distant, conflicted mother. Scenes between Victoria and Claire are filled with heartfelt vulnerability, two women bound by loss but finding strength in each other. Victoria's arc shifts from a woman defined by ambition and heartbreak to a mother who finds renewed purpose in her daughter's resilience, becomes the unexpected face of strength in Genoa City. Her decision to stand up to Holden, record his confession, and ultimately help bring him down earns her newfound respect. She is no longer seen merely as the girl with a dark past, but as a Newman with courage and determination. Her story captivates viewers as she navigates grief, guilt, and empowerment. In quiet moments, she visits Cole's favorite spots, reflecting on their short but meaningful time together. These scenes are poignant, allowing fans to fully feel the emotional weight of her loss. Nikki's presence remains essential. She becomes Claire's confidant, offering wisdom earned through decades of surviving her own personal demons and external threats. Their late-night conversations over tea at the ranch offer a sense of calm amidst the chaos. Nikki encourages Claire to take control of her own narrative, reminding her that while she can't change the past, she has the power to shape her future. Their growing bond also gives Nikki new depth as she steps into a matriarchal role that balances warmth and strength. Holden's trial looms on the horizon, promising high-stakes drama. His legal team hints at a possible insanity defense, attempting to paint him as a man driven by delusions rather than malice. But Victor ensures that every piece of evidence is ready to crush such a tactic. The recordings, financial records, witness testimonies, and forensic evidence leave little room for doubt. Holden's demeanor in court fluctuates between smug defiance and unraveling desperation, captivating Genoa City as the community watches justice play out. In a strategic twist, Victor uses Holden's trial as an opportunity to quietly investigate the larger network that supported him. Behind the scenes, he suspects that Holden was merely a pawn in a deeper conspiracy. Old names and organizations begin to surface, hints of rival families, corporate saboteurs, and international schemes that could reignite classic Newman rivalries. This sets the stage for a thrilling future arc, ensuring that Cole's death is not just an isolated tragedy, but the catalyst for a much larger storyline. Meanwhile, Victoria begins to reflect on her own life in the wake of this tragedy. She contemplates taking a step back from Newman Enterprises, at least temporarily, to focus on Claire. Their bond is still fragile, and she refuses to let her career overshadow her daughter's healing. This potential shift raises eyebrows in Genoa City's business circles, with some seeing it as a sign of weakness, while others view it as a powerful act of prioritizing family over power. Her choice could open the door for new corporate storylines as other players attempt to fill the temporary vacuum at Newman Enterprises. Claire's personal journey also hints at exciting possibilities. No longer living under the weight of shame, she starts exploring what it means to carve her own identity within the Newman legacy. She reconnects with distant relatives, begins therapy to fully process her trauma, and even contemplates getting involved in Newman family business in a junior role. This evolution signals that Claire is here to stay as a central character, her arc moving from redemption to empowerment. As the Holden storyline nears its courtroom climax, unexpected twists could still be ahead. Rumors swirl that Holden may attempt a last-minute escape or that one of his accomplices could try to silence him before he reveals too much. Victor's vigilant watch ensures any such plot will meet swift resistance, but the danger remains. Genoa City thrives on the unpredictable, and this arc has all the ingredients for one final shocking turn before the trial ends. The emotional core, however, remains centered on Cole's legacy. His death, though tragic, becomes the emotional glue that binds Claire and Victoria together. It reminds the Newmans of their vulnerabilities, but also their unbreakable strength when united. In a moving scene toward the end of the arc, the family gathers at the ranch for a private memorial. Victor delivers a solemn speech honoring Cole's courage and his role in protecting Claire, while Victoria stands silently beside Claire, holding her hand. It's a moment of healing, a quiet exhale after weeks of turmoil. The Young and the Restless has expertly woven tragedy, manipulation, family unity, and justice into a powerful storyline that not only delivers shocking twists, but also deep emotional resonance. Cole's death and Holden's deceptive plot have reshaped the Newman family dynamics in lasting ways, setting the stage for a bold new era. Claire's evolution from a vulnerable outsider to a strong Newman heroine ensures that this arc will be remembered as a turning point in her character's legacy. As Holden's trial looms, Victor's quiet war against the unseen forces behind him intensifies, promising future battles that could shake Genoa City's power structure. For now, though, the Newmans stand united, stronger than ever, honoring Cole's memory and ready to face whatever comes next. Holden's trial begins under intense media scrutiny, turning the courthouse into a spectacle that grips Genoa City. Reporters swarm the steps, cameras flash, and whispers ripple through the crowd as Holden is led in, shackled but still carrying a veneer of smug arrogance. He believes his legal team can spin his actions into a narrative of mental instability and manipulation from unseen forces. But Victor has ensured every angle is covered. His quiet influence has secured key witnesses and damning evidence that will make Holden's downfall inevitable. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere is electric. Victoria and Claire sit side by side, united in their pursuit of justice. Claire's recorded confession plays for the jury, Holden's voice echoing through the chamber, recounting his twisted motives and his admission that Cole stood in the way of the plan. His calm, calculating tone on the recording makes it clear this was no crime of passion, it was premeditated deceit. The jury listens in stunned silence. Holden's attorney tries to argue diminished capacity, painting him as a mentally unwell man who was manipulated by shadowy figures. But the prosecution counters with evidence of his financial dealings, aliases, and careful planning, dismantling that defense piece by piece. Claire takes the stand in a pivotal moment. Dressed simply and speaking with quiet strength, she recounts the emotional manipulation Holden used to isolate her. She describes the night in the cabin, the chase through the woods, and her decision to record him despite her fear. Her testimony moves many in the courtroom, including Victoria, who watches with a mix of pride and heartbreak. Claire's growth is on full display, no longer defined by her past. She commands the room with poise and truth. Victoria's testimony is equally powerful. She recounts the bond she shared with Cole and the agony of losing him again. Her voice breaks at times, but her resolve never wavers. She demands justice not just for herself and Claire but for Cole, whose death was the tragic spark that exposed Holden's sinister agenda. Her raw emotion resonates with the jury, driving home the human cost of Holden's actions comes when the prosecution reveals evidence of Holden's connections to a broader criminal network. Emails, financial records, and encrypted messages point to his dealings with a mysterious group that has targeted Newman assets in the past. This revelation shifts the narrative from a simple crime to something much larger, a chessboard where Holden was a dangerous but ultimately replaceable piece. Victor's silent expression during this moment says everything. He's not surprised. He expected this. And he's already preparing for the war that's coming next. The verdict arrives after a tense deliberation. Holden is found guilty on all major charges, including murder and conspiracy. His mask of control shatters as the judge reads the sentence: life in prison with no possibility of parole. The courtroom erupts in a mix of relief and emotion. Victoria embraces Claire tightly, both women shedding tears that carry months of pain, fear, and finally, closure. Nikki clasps Victor's hand, the unspoken message clear: they've won this battle, but the war isn't over. In the weeks following the trial, Genoa City slowly returns to its rhythm, but the Newman family remains in a state of quiet vigilance. Victor intensifies his investigation into the criminal network that empowered Holden. He discreetly reaches out to old allies, ensuring that any threat lurking in the shadows will be met with swift retaliation. His protective instincts are sharper than ever, and he refuses to allow another tragedy to strike his family. Claire emerges as a central figure in the aftermath. She decides to take on a junior role at Newman Enterprises, starting at the bottom to learn the ropes properly. Her decision surprises many, but Victor supports it wholeheartedly, seeing potential in her that echoes his own drive. She approaches her new role with determination, eager to build something meaningful while honoring Cole's legacy. Her presence at Newman represents both a personal transformation and a symbolic continuation of her father's influence. Victoria, meanwhile, redefines her priorities. She balances her leadership at Newman with a newfound commitment to being present for Claire. Their relationship continues to blossom, marked by late-night conversations, shared memories of Cole, and moments of unspoken understanding. Victoria's emotional arc has shifted from one of regret and distance to one of connection and strength. The Holden storyline's conclusion sets the stage for a thrilling new chapter. Victor's investigation reveals that Holden's mysterious employers are not gone, they're regrouping. Subtle threats emerge in the form of hacked communications, suspicious business moves, and anonymous messages warning the Newmans to stop digging. Victor interprets these threats not as warnings, but as invitations to battle. A chilling new figure begins to surface in the background, an unknown power player pulling strings from afar. This shadowy presence watches Holden's downfall with calculated interest, hinting that Genoa City is about to face a threat unlike any it has encountered before. For Claire, Victoria, and Victor, Cole's death was the beginning of a war they didn't choose, but are now fully prepared to fight. The final scenes of this arc are both poignant and foreboding. At Cole's grave, Claire stands alone at sunset, placing fresh flowers and whispering a promise to live a life that honors him. She walks away with quiet determination, unaware that across town, the mysterious figure receives a message. Phase 2 begins. The Young and the Restless has masterfully crafted a storyline that blends tragedy, justice, emotional evolution, and long-term intrigue. Cole's death shattered hearts, but it also ignited a saga that elevates Claire into a powerful new role, redefines Victoria's priorities, and places Victor back in the center of a high-stakes war. Holden's deceptive plan has been dismantled, but its echoes will shape the future of Genoa City for months, possibly years, to come. As news of Cole's tragic death spreads through Genoa City, the shockwaves reach every corner of the Newman family. Claire struggles to process the devastating loss of a man who had become both a father figure and a source of redemption in her complicated journey. Her grief is raw, but beneath the surface, something far more sinister is brewing. Holden, who has been lurking in the shadows with his carefully crafted facade, sees this tragedy not as a moment for mourning but as the perfect opportunity to implement his long-simmering plan. He knows Claire's emotional state makes her vulnerable, and his deceptive strategy is designed to isolate her from the people who might protect her. By presenting himself as a source of comfort, he slowly positions himself as the one person who understands her pain, all while manipulating the narrative to suit his ambitions. Victoria and Cole's shared history gives the tragedy even more weight, leaving Victoria shattered and determined to find out the truth about what really happened. She senses that something about Cole's death doesn't add up. At the same time, Holden begins planting subtle seeds of doubt in Claire's mind, suggesting that members of her own family might not have her best interests at heart. His words are carefully chosen, meant to deepen her sense of isolation and confusion. This is not a straightforward con. It's a psychological game that Holden is determined to win, and Cole's death has provided him with the ultimate opening to move in undetected. While the Newman family mourns, Holden quietly strengthens his grip on the emotional chaos unfolding around them. Meanwhile, Nick and Victor launch a full-scale investigation into the circumstances of Cole's death, unwilling to accept the official version of events without scrutiny. Victor, always the patriarch and master strategist, begins to suspect that Holden's sudden involvement in Claire's life is no coincidence. He instructs his trusted contacts to dig into Holden's background, determined to expose any hidden motives. At the same time, Claire finds herself torn between the family that has only recently welcomed her and the man who seems to understand her pain on a deeper level. The emotional tug-of-war leaves her increasingly conflicted, making it easier for Holden to push his agenda without raising suspicion. The dynamics between Victoria, Claire, and Holden begin to shift dramatically. Victoria, consumed by grief but fueled by a mother's instinct, becomes wary of Holden's growing influence. She notices subtle changes in Claire's behavior, sensing that someone is whispering in her ear. The tension builds as Holden cleverly masks his manipulations under the guise of concern, portraying himself as a steady presence while subtly encouraging Claire to question her family's motives. Claire, still fragile from her past mistakes and desperate to cling to some form of stability after Cole's death, leans on Holden more than ever. The result is a psychological battlefield where trust is both a weapon and a weakness, and Holden is expertly exploiting every crack in the Newman family's emotional armor.